Hey there, guys. It's Kage DQT coming at you for an interesting video. Essentially, I just found out, along with everybody else who watched the live stream, that the roundabouts for how units are going to be distributed is changing. We're not going to be seeing Togami, which is the Breath Martial support user, or Darkonium coming up next. We are going to be getting Dragon Quest X early, as opposed to what the schedule looked like before, which to some extent I, that's cool in a way, but what does that mean for everything now? What does that mean for the viability of some of these units and how things are going to play out? Well, just off the bat, just to start, if what Malcolm is saying is true, and you know this event's going to be over a month easily, because again it's a mainline event, so we're looking at what, 45 days before we potentially see Togami or Darkonium. Yeah, like right off the bat, something I used to do just to kind of get a feel for what was coming down the pipeline, even though we already knew, was I'd always look at just kind of like the rule sets for RTA. Well, with this change coming up for set 4, which is, July 23rd to 30th, Slime Martial Potency Recovery. That generally would have been where Darkonium should have fell under in terms of that unit being introduced. Probably would have been introduced during the 16 to 23 week, and then we would have gotten him during this week here, which it would play to his strength. So instead, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens now. Because, we've got coming up, we've got Dark Lord Martial Potency and Dark Lord Breath Potency coming up, which, since Togami's not going to be coming out, these kind of tailored events and how they work, we're not going to see as much of an impact with them for RTA and featured units. It's going to be a bit different. It's going to be interesting. So they've kind of, in a way, changed up the timeline on us for how these things are going to play out. Now, something else I want to touch on, Darkonium's going to be a really good unit, going to be a super tank, has some decent offensive to it. That's why people were picking up Pop 2 to have heavy typeless to deal with this unit. Well, somebody brought up a pretty good point on my Discord server. Now he's going to be releasing closer to when Jade 2 drops, which Jade 2's a heavy charm unit. Okay, let's say for argument's sake, Darkonium comes out a month and a half from now. So middle of August. Well, start of October, we're most likely getting J2 unless things change up again, which I think they are only changing because of the anniversary and how they wanted to frame the anniversary itself. I didn't watch Malcolm's full live stream, so I don't know 100% how they or why they're doing what they're doing, but I think it's because they wanted to have a DQ10 unit as a representative of our 2.5 anniversary, although Darkonium would have been a marvelous 2.5 unit, would have gotten a lot more value. Now it's like, well, what do you do? Like, this kind of changed up. People for saving for Darkonium, you're not going to get the same amount of time and same amount of value out of the unit as JP got because of how they've changed their timeline. In fact, if anything, Jade 2 and even Booga, which I'm going to do a video on at some point, Booga's a very interesting unit. He potentially could destroy auto-clicking in RTA. He could literally destroy all these cheaters in RTA because of how he affects the AI with his mesmerize ability. So that's a separate video, a separate topic for another day. But this just changes everything immensely. So we've got DQ10 coming up next. We're not going to see Darkonium and Togami for 45 plus days. And unless something changes, unless they make a mistake here, that's going to change the atmosphere for these upcoming RTA arenas unless they swap them out. But I can't see them changing out the rule sets of an RTA midway through. These are just kind of things that they don't think about when they make these changes. Like, okay, if you were going to do this change here and drop it on us, well, you have to take a look at the bigger picture of things. I mean, I'm not even a developer, and that was the first thing I thought of was, okay, how is the RTA rule set going to change things? Because we're not getting those units, but their tailored abilities are still there. Like, for example, last week, Dark Lord Frizz damage, Vern. Awesome unit for that week. Was doing mega damage, was wiping out units left and right that normally wouldn't be killed. That week was made for him. Well, now these weeks that are made for these units, they're not coming back now. So they've essentially diminished their value, but we'll still get the RTA 8 weeks for DQ10 at some point. And we'll have those units if you want to use them. You'll have them if you do get them. So I don't know. It's just some things need to be considered better, and maybe that's just a criticism for the developers. Hopefully Malcolm sees this. He takes a look at this video and he takes some notes, or they figure out a way to kind of redo those particular rule sets in the future when those units release. But again, it's like they've muddied up the entire timeline now to some extent. So, but we'll see what happens. So essentially, if you were saving for Darkonium, if you were saving for Togami, they've been pushed back. How far back, we don't know. It's safe to assume that it could be after DQ10, which again, that's like over a 30-day event, generally about 45 days. So you are not looking to see either of those units until sometime in August. So I don't know if going Darkonium now is as a good of value, because again, you would have gotten 3 months out of him. You would have gotten maybe let's say he launched next week. You would have got up next week up until the start of October when you saw like a really hard counter for him. Now it's like you'd be buying into this unit, spending a lot of gems, and you'd be getting half the effectiveness time for that unit. So I don't know. It's weird. But anyway, we'll keep an eye on things. We'll see how things play out. Maybe I'll do some more videos on this. But this is just case in point why I don't jump the gun and do any of these like unit review videos and other things anymore. And it's just, things are very unpredictable now, and I see why they're trying to do that, to kind of take the magic 8 ball out of our hands and make people have to spend. But at least they're not crunching everything down like last time, so we're not losing any time. We're just potentially having a much different experience, which we already have because we don't have Lawson. We're not getting the Lawson killing machine. This is just very, very weird. I don't understand what they're doing here, but we'll just see what happens. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining. I will do a video in the future about Booga. We'll take a look at him. We'll see what's so special about him and potentially why you should hold back some gems for him if you do want to do RTA, or if you do want to do GVG, because again, that's going to be a very special unit, and that's again assuming that he's going to come out when he should in 3 months, which maybe this is based off the anniversary for Global why they're doing this, or maybe this is a new strategy of theirs. Only time will tell. Anyway, thank you guys, and you have a good night. Take care.